Hi everyone, welcome to Single Value. So today I want to talk about a potential merger between Lucid Motors and Churchill Capital Corp IV. So yeah, like there's kind of recent rumors around this, and hence why this SPAC is up from like $10 all the way to like around $14.15, because Lucid Motors is quite a big deal in a sense, because they've got an amazing product that a lot of people really like, because hey, they've got this car here called Lucid Air, and they have many versions. The first version that they're releasing is at 161,000 US dollars, so it's not a cheap car. And hopefully eventually they'll be releasing later on this year the Air Grand Touring, the Air Touring, and the Air Pure, each one getting cheaper as they go. So as you can see, summer 2021, late 2021, and early 2022. So they're going to be releasing basically 4 different type of vehicle models in the space of less than 18 months, which will be really incredible if they're able to achieve this in such a short amount of time. Hence why the potential is really strong around this company. And yeah, like the price tags going from, as we looked at the Air, 161,000 for that one, and the Air Grand Touring is 131,000, and the next one's 87,000. Eventually it gets to $69,900. So yeah, like that's pretty cool in a sense that, hey, this company is achieving a lot in a very short amount of time. Though we do have to look at this part here, and it does state amount includes a potential 7,500 US federal tax credit. So be wary that this pricing here includes a tax credit. So do with that number as you will. But yeah, like jumping back to the whole idea of, hey, this company is merging with Churchill Corp for about $15 billion. And we kind of look at the ones that are producing currently. Now you've got XPeng, Li Auto, NIO, Tesla. We know Tesla is leading the pack by a mile, and NIO is probably too far ahead to kind of measure it. So we're going to stick with XPeng and Li Auto. Those two are producing around that, closer to that 30,000 mark in terms of cars. So, and those companies trade around about that 30 billion valuation, though based on today's rise of XPeng, they're actually trading a bit more. I would actually just do a quick update actually. Yeah, so XPeng's trading at like $38 billion. And with Lucid Motors, they've got basically a factory that they've just recently commissioned, yeah, they've actually they've finished building the first stage of it, which has an initial capacity of 30,000 cars, and eventually it can go up to about 400,000 cars. But that later stage might be, as the final stage might be completed around 2028. So it is a long way off. But you know, it's a nice kind of like, you know, I guess plan as they build out each different stage. They release more vehicles, and they can kind of just scale up as they go. But to kind of benchmark, hey, if they get to about a 30,000 unit, you know, production rate, potentially next year. I don't think they'll get to 30,000 this year, probably next year. Then that kind of is a big lead-in way to say this company could be worth about that 30 to $40 billion mark. And at a valuation, you know, post-valuation merger of 15 billion, you know, the upside isn't massive around this, but it's still a decent upside, of course. Though, you know, I'm benchmarking against Li Auto and XPeng, whereas other people might be looking at this and going, actually, you want to benchmark this company by its speed and its potential, because there's not really many companies moving at this speed that they can actually look at releasing about 4 different car models, well, editions in a way. Like they're all very similar cars, but they're more differentiated editions. So you know, you could argue that Model S and Model 3 are in a sense very similar vehicles. Model 3 is just a smaller sedan, and then they've just dropped the price in that sense. So in a sense, like, they can be interpreted as different vehicles because the price tag is dramatically different from the high of 161,000 to 69,900 here for the Air Pure. So almost yeah, round about a 90,000 US dollar difference between the cars. So you imagine the car quality will also be massively different between the two models. So again, yeah, like, there could be a huge potential around demand for this car, that potentially this is one of the luxury brands of the EV world that will be very similar to Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, and all those really luxury brands. So yeah, like, or potentially it could be elevated to a even more luxurious brand like a Bentley, So we really have to see how Lucid kind of wants to establish itself in the current present time. But we'll find out this year, of course, as they actually get into production and they start releasing the cars, and we get a good idea of how well these guys are actually able to scale their manufacturing, which will be very, very interesting. So the biggest connection between Churchill Corp is this guy here. So this guy is one of the operating partners for Churchill Corp, and he's also the chairman of Lucid Motors. So if you're the chairman and you're also an operating partner, doesn't it make sense that you'd basically be recommending Lucid Motors to merge with a Churchill Capital SPAC? So that's the biggest connection between these two parts. Like, and hence why there's a lot of speculation that this could be a potential merger, because they are in talks. But again, those talks may eventuate to something, but they may not as well. So yeah, like, there's a really good chance that, hey, if they were going to merge and they were going to ask advice from their chairman, and he also happens to be an operating partner, then it kind of makes a kind of transition and merger a lot easier, and also discussions as well. So yeah, I think there's a really good potential that, hey, these guys will be merging, and hence why that could be the case, that this could be the thing. But again, at this $14 price tag, we're assuming about a 21 billion post-merger valuation, because that 15 billion will be based on a $10 price tag, and if you're buying today at 14, you're looking at about a $21 billion company, which means if you buy at today's valuation, you potentially don't really get a big upside anyway, and it's just more excitement that would just pop the stock to a higher high. But who knows if it would ever, potentially come down again as well. So, I think there's a lot of hype driving it, of course, because again, this is a company that isn't producing. So, well, not yet, but they are producing this year. So I guess that's the excitement around it. Hey, there's a $21 billion car company that's producing some luxury vehicles this year, probably not a lot of luxury vehicles. And at 21 billion, if I benchmark it against something like Lordstown, that's got 100,000 pre-order list, and also producing at the end of this year, then I'd prefer Lordstown, to be honest. So yeah, like, to benchmark the value, Lordstown definitely wins on my books. But I guess if you like Lucid Motors and you think this potentially has larger gains to be made, then I guess, yeah, potentially it's worth hopping into. So yeah, like, I'm kind of on the fence here. I think maybe you might want to buy some just for the hype and the fun. But in the whole scheme of things, I do find the valuation slightly high for a company that hasn't proven as much yet. Because again, Lucid Motors has, the name has been there for so long that it's actually taken this company a really long time to get to where they are now. But if they can execute, then yeah, like, they'll be looking like a really good potential company that could, prove to be really good to invest in if they can execute on their whole plan of producing 4 different car editions, and also ramping this factory up from the current initial 30,000 to 400,000 later on. Yeah, that will be impressive if they do. Like, a lot of people kind of thinks about Lucid Motors and go, it really reminds them of Tesla. When Tesla came onto the market, everyone was like looking at Tesla and going, the valuation's too high. How do you justify buying into Tesla at that stage? So it's very reminiscent of Tesla at this current stage of Lucid Motors coming out around at this 15 billion valuation. So yeah, I guess it's one of those ones. There's a lot of speculation. There's probably a lot of risk, to be honest. But it was also very exciting in a way, because we're looking at this whole new generation of EVs, and they are the next big thing. But of course, 21 billion at this current valuation, or for the SPAC anyway, it makes it an incredibly difficult task to quantify what the upside is, because again, they're not producing. So, but if they, if there's a lot of pre-orders, then maybe it gets some justification. But I haven't seen any pre-order numbers. If the pre-order numbers are good, why don't you release the pre-order numbers? Maybe they will release them once that SPAC merger details come in. But there's currently no pre-order numbers that I've seen. But let me know if you've actually found some pre-order numbers, because I wasn't able to find any pre-order numbers. So hence why I'm not actually 100% sure this one's a good one. But I thought it was definitely interesting, because Lucid Motors has been one of those names that have just been circling around as much as Faraday Futures that hasn't really done as well, So yeah, I'm looking at this and going, it's great that they got where they are. But yeah, at a 21 billion valuation, there's a lot of justifications that need to be made. Well, firstly, they have built this really nice factory. So there is definitely value within this company. They have put a lot of time into designing these cars, getting to the stage where they can actually start producing them this year, which is also the amazing part as well. Whether to quantify the worth of this company at this $21 billion mark at this current SPAC value, I think it's really, really subjective to you as an investor, whether you think it's worth it or not. For me, if I decide I want to buy some, I'd probably only buy a little. It's not something that I look at and go, my upside is really good. It's not really at a margin of safety as well. You kind of buy at a relatively high fair value and hope things go right, and potentially you get rewarded. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about this company anyway. If you're in this company, I definitely hope this merger goes through. And I'll definitely be interested in following Lucid Motors in general anyway, because I think the car looks great. The company looks very interesting. It really, really reminds me of Tesla back in its day when it was producing the Model S, or even going back to the Roadster kind of times. So it's really cool to see this really, really infant Tesla kind of lookalike company anyway, and then potentially them going to the later stage of producing cheaper model cars, and then potentially who knows what could be the future of this company. That could they eventually be a Tesla-like company, or will they have a miserable time, have production problems, financial problems? We never know. But that is the job of an investor, to really try to quantify, does this risk measure up to my reward? For me, I'm really on the fence on this, whether it's worth it or not. But I definitely thought it was worth talking about it anyway. Until then, good luck investing, everyone. And if you've got any questions, just post below.